Hi there, welcome to Floating in Books. Today's video is going to be all about my 2022 reading year. So this is going to be my general wrap up of the year 2022. So let's get started. So I just wanted to do a video coming on here to tell you a little bit about what kind of reading year I had in 2022 and sort of also reflect on what I think 2023 will bring me and sort of talk you through my Goodreads stats as we go along. I'll make sure to link my Goodreads reading challenge overview in the description box down below so you can have a look at the full list in case you would like to know. I did review all of these books already for you as well, save for like one or two, because those I couldn't review because I finished them right before the end of the year, so they'll be in my next wrap up for sure. But I just wanted to come on here and tell you about the 41 books that I ended up reading in 2022. So let me just start with that. 41 books, which in hindsight, I don't even know how I did that, because 2022 was not my best year. Let's just start there. In discussing my 2022 reading year, I also need to have a bit of a reflection on what 2022 was like as a year for me overall, and it wasn't great. At the end of 2021, things were not going great for me, and in 2022, that trend sort of continued. In 2021, I only read 11 books, and I found out in 2022 why that was the case. I had a lot of health scares because of it. Needless to say, by now I know a little bit more of what's going on, but they found a B12 deficiency in my system, so that was a cause for a lot of concentration problems, and once I got treatment for that, a lot of my concentration came back and I was able to read more again. However, the treatment didn't go as planned because apparently I'm either allergic to something in the component, or at least I'm getting a very adverse reaction to the treatment, which my doctor at first didn't believe. So I had to go through 3 rounds of treatment before my doctor was like, oh yeah, I think it may be the B12 supplement that you have to take that's causing this for you. But it led to a lot of other really vague symptoms, and one of them was double vision. So that is also reflected in how much I've actually read this year, because quite a good chunk of what I've read were audiobooks, because for most of the year I actually couldn't sit and read a page because my vision just I had my eyes checked out and everything. I had perfect vision, save for the fact that it just didn't align. The image just didn't blend into one thing. And for the past few months, luckily that went back to normal, and I was able to pick up my reading speed on the page as a result. So I'm very happy with that. So yeah, 2022 was just not a great year. A lot of medical checkups and health issues and things that just weren't going the way I had wanted to. But, we're on the mend. Everything is looking up for 2023. And so that definitely also factored into how, what I was able to read and how much I was able to read in 2022. Personal update out of the way, let's chat about these 41 books. I already mentioned because of some physical ailments, I couldn't physically read a lot. So I actually read 17 audiobooks out of the 41 books that I read, which is a lot to me. But yeah, it was just a great way to do something other than watching something on a screen, and just being able to listen to audio and still come across stories that way. However, I tend to have a preference for nonfiction books, so I actually think I read a little bit more nonfiction this year than I normally would, but most of that was on audio. So there's that. According to Goodreads, the total number of pages I read is 13,495, which is less than I've done in other years. There have been years where I also didn't hit my goal of 50. I always set my reading goal at 50. And the only year I made it was when I made a point of reading things like graphic novels and really short things. That was the only thing that really got me towards the number of 50. But there have been years where I've read 42 books and I read 18,000 pages. So this is nowhere near what I know I can do, but that is again due to the fact that I went into shorter books and just doing that because I just couldn't read all the time. So that's also why the shortest book I read was only 64 pages. The longest one, which I started reading towards the end of the year, was 1,408 pages, which I think is great. So the average book length I read was 329. So again, I can do better than that. I definitely am overdue reading some longer books. So that's going to be something I want to do in 2023. I started the year with Where the Crawdads Sing. That's a book I actually started in August of 2021, and I didn't finish it until the start of the year because I was just... I just couldn't, I didn't have the focus to read and sit down and do that. So it took me months to finish that. And this is a very popular book and I get why, but I also now in hindsight know that my initial reaction to the book and why I liked it was very much sort of tied in with how I was feeling at that time, which wasn't the best. So this book had a great impact on me. I was like crying buckets when I was reading this. I was like, this is very unlike me because I hardly ever like cry when I read. So I don't know. The least shelf book I have on the list are some of my childhood favorites, which are the Hotel Rosenbottle books that I wrote in at the end of the year, just real quickly, just to have something to read as I was waiting for my friend to give me a book that I wanted to read next. My average rating, 3.3, which is not great. I only read like 3 5-star reads in the entire year. Now, granted, my 5-star reads are like, these are life-changing, I love these are like the best thing I've ever read kind of status. I don't give out 5 stars very easily, but there also weren't a lot of 4 stars, which is when I think a book is very good. Like when it's very enjoyable, I give it 4 stars, and there weren't that many of them. Everything was sort of like, okay, like this was fun, I liked it, 3 stars, but nothing was super terrible either, but everything was very middle of the road. So in terms of like, did I have a good reading year? I'm actually quite surprised that I managed to get through 41 books because there were so few books in the year that led to like a lasting impression on me. So I definitely hope to pick some other things to read now that my focus is back, now that I'm feeling a lot better. And I actually am now able to read more also after work and stuff. So I definitely think I can get my reading sort of like back to where it used to be. My voice is going. I hope to just like get to more books that I'm very excited for, but because I wasn't feeling the best, I wasn't going for them because they were like bigger and like fantasy, and then I had to invest in getting to know the world, and it was just something I couldn't do at the time. Like I just didn't have the mental headspace to delve into something where I didn't know exactly how everything worked, if that makes sense. So that's why I think also because there was so much nonfiction and a lot of it was like more like in the self-help realm as well, where I was like, yeah, that's okay, but nonfiction is never like a 5-star read for me. I like it's interesting, but that's about it, you know? So for me, I hope in 2023 that I can pick some better books for me that get my heart rate going just a little bit more and that I just enjoy more and that I can really get stuck into. I'm continuing the Mistborn trilogy for sure from Brandon Sanderson. It's actually the first book I hope to read of 2023, The Well of Ascension. That's the second book in the series because the first one really had me going. So now I want to get stuck into the second one. And that's even longer than the first one, but yeah. If long fantasy is what I enjoy reading most, then that's what I need to start reading, right? Makes sense. The book I read that's the highest rated on Goodreads is actually a book that won one of the Goodreads awards. And I listened to this on audio, and it's Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died. And I think I already mentioned it in my wrap-up that, yeah, it was okay, but I think that if you knew her, like if you were a kid and watching her Nickelodeon TV series, that you may be a bit more invested in her story. To me, it just felt like so many other child star stories that I've heard over the years. So to me, it wasn't that unique or stand out. It was like, yeah, this kind of happens to kids who go into fame and whose parents are anything but supportive. So I think that for me, therefore, I wasn't super invested in it. Also, she was the one narrating the audiobook, and her voice was very flat. It was this very sort of American thing where she goes down at the end of every sentence. And I think that kind of took away from some of the severity of some of the things she actually discusses. So yeah, 41 books. Let me just do a quick add up of how many women I read versus men, because I always find that interesting as well. So I'm very proud to announce that roughly I had a 50-50 split, because 21 books that I read in 2022 are by women. So that's, I think, a pretty good one. Like, I don't really put too much thought in that. I just read what I enjoy, and who it's by exactly, I don't really pay that much attention to. I definitely tend to go off of whether something sounds interesting to me, and that's what I go with. So yeah, those were all of the things I wanted to catch you up on in today's video. Those were the way I experienced my 2022 reading year. Surprised at how many books I actually got through. 41. I'm on the brink of finishing a book already, because I have about an hour left in an audiobook that I was listening to, and I thought I could finish it before the end of the year, but we were having Radio Top 2000 going on at the end of the year, and I was listening to the radio more than I was actually reading or listening to audiobooks. That's okay. Different things that are going on at the end of the year there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I can finish like 2 books in the next week or so, I hope. And then get the train rolling again, and hopefully I can make sure that 2023 is off to a good start. I have a couple of other bookish videos planned for this month for sure, and I plan on doing like an overview of some books that I would like to get to in 2023 in a couple of weeks' time as well. So I've got some more bookish content coming your way, so if you'd like to stay tuned for all of that goodness, and I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, everybody, and I hope to see you next week when I post my new video. Bye-bye!